Ahead of the Ekiti and Osun governorship elections scheduled for 18th June and 16th July 2022 respectively, stakeholders have reiterated their commitment in making the elections accessible for people with disabilities. Grace Jerry, Executive Director, Inclusive Friends Association, disclosed this on Wednesday in Abuja. Pamela Ajero tells the rest of the story.
At the 7th Access Nigerian Campaign Stakeholders Roundtable on Inclusive Elections in Nigeria, held in Abuja on Wednesday, the Executive Director of the Inclusive Friends Association, IFA, Grace Jerry, who was represented by Tracy Onabis, Disability Inclusion Officer, IFA, stated the significant barriers experienced by persons with disabilities, PWD, in participating in the country's elections. She called for practical and achievable steps that will fill the gaps, especially in the forthcoming 2022 Ekiti and Osun governorship elections, assuring her commitment in the Persons with Disabilities election reforms.
Commitment for the introduction of electoral reforms like the introduction of the Braille ballot guide for blind voters and voting instructions for voters with hearing impairment were secured at these roundtables. 34% of sampled polling units, persons with disabilities were not given priority to vote in line with INEC guidelines. These discourage persons with disabilities from participating in elections. At 20% of polling units, voters with visual impairment or blindness use the Braille ballot guide. This number shows that if the Braille ballot guide was available at more polling units, more voters with visual impairment and blindness would have been able to use it.
While lending his voice, James David Laulu, Executive Secretary, National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, who was represented by Lawrence Ibedidion, assures Nigerians of their readiness to prepare, identify and make demands towards achieving polling unit accessibilities for PWD all over Nigeria.
Preparation for the forthcoming Governorship election, I would love to address some of the challenges and barriers being faced by persons with disability challenges due to past elections, and majorly of the review and lesson learned from the question of persons with disability from the Anambra 2021 and Ekiti 2 election. The barriers to political participation faced by persons with disability are complex and multifaceted, such as social stigma, discriminatory legal framework and infrastructure, which play a major role in the marginalization of persons with disability in position equality. The barrier in political participation may occur at any stage of election cycle.
Also speaking, CSP Olumuyiwa Adejobi, Police Public Relations Officer, who was represented by ASP Aneze Chidera, stated that they would work with the IFA to provide the security they deserve and also ensure that PWD are not discriminated against.
Disability, and we have established disability desk officers in the 36 states of Nigeria, 36 commands and FCT, and the 17 zonal commands. And we've been working hand in hand with the National Commission for Persons with Disability to ensure that persons with disability are not discriminated against with regards to accessibility to police station, police services, security, and wherever they find themselves.
Data on the barriers that persons with disabilities face in the electoral process, and in advocating, for the implementation of far-reaching recommendations that they make based on their observations. The roundtable we're having here today is one of such, fresh with the data collected, during the polling unit accessibility audit in the 2021 off-cycle governorship election in Anambra, to advocate for specific measures to be taken by the Independent National Electoral Commission and other stakeholders to ensure that elections are more accessible, for persons with disabilities in the upcoming off-cycle governorship elections in Ekiti.
It is hoped the election reforms for PWD produces better results and also improves the country's election processes. Pamela Ajero, KAFTAN Television News, Abuja.